Hey, what's up guys? So there were three knife-wielding ghosts arguing on a hilltop at night, and each one of them claimed to be able to kill the most people in the shortest span of time. So to settle it, the first ghost flew off quickly and returned an hour later. His blade was stained red, and all over his white cloak there were dark red patches. He said, "See that town over there? I killed all 500 people in that town in 1 hour." The second ghost, unfazed, flew off and returned in just 1 minute, and he was fully covered in thick red blood and said, "See that city over there? Well, I killed all 5,000 people in 1 minute." Now, without hesitation, the third ghost scanned the horizon and found a huge city in the distance. Then he flew towards it as fast as he could and returned just 1 second later, completely soaked in blood, but his knife was gone. The third ghost said, "See that lamppost right there?" The other two nodded. Third ghost says, "Good, because I didn't." Now on the blog this week, you guys, Doug asked what to do when prospects ghost you. He says it seems to be happening to him more since the pandemic hit. Well, you guys, Doug happens to be the photographer who shot the cover photo for my book. And I love this question because it highlights one of the topics I wrote about, and that's when you're self-employed in any industry, your primary job is to generate leads. What your business card says you do is really just the reward. Now, I'm pretty sure Doug understands this, so let's dig deeper into his question. If you have prospects ghosting you, it means that to some degree you're doing your job. I mean, you have prospects, and that's a great thing, but the problem comes when we don't handle being ghosted correctly. So when I was younger, most people understood ghosting to mean leaving a gathering quietly so as not to disturb a busy host. I mean, that was that way the host could stay engaged with the guests rather than being interrupted to say goodbye to people leaving at random times. So in that context, ghosting was a good thing, right? Well, now, when people hear the term, it carries a negative connotation because of people being ghosted in the dating world. And a quick search will reveal all kinds of articles on why ghosting hurts and what you can do about it. And much of that advice centers around building up your self-esteem and remembering your self-worth. And I even found an article on the signs that you're about to be ghosted. Okay, so I get it. If you're dating someone, you get emotionally involved and then they disappear into thin air, it can be a huge bummer. And in that context, it might be a good idea to pull back from the dating scene and get yourself together. But what I've noticed long before we started calling it ghosting in the professional world is that when prospects disappear, some salespeople pull back from their business, and instead of healing themselves, they do real damage. When a prospect you were excited about and was certain would turn into business disappears, it's not okay to allow their ghosting to knock you down, to derail your prospecting activities, and to ruin your mindset for days on end. Yet if you look around your office, this is exactly what happens to people. People will literally stop doing their jobs altogether. But there are a few people in every office who respond much differently. I once had a friend named Jay, and Jay was a Navy SEAL who had gotten into the business and joined the same brokerage as me. Now everyone noticed Jay because he was smoking hot. And the first thing he ever said to me was, "Hey Jason, you sold my Spanish teacher's house." Y'all, I wanted to be so cool and sexy like Jay, but in that moment I just felt old. I think I was only in my early 30s then. Anyway, it was fun having Jay around, so I offered to mentor him. And he shadowed me for months and asked so many questions that at one point I think I was trying to figure out how to ghost him. But here's the thing I admired most about Jay. He never let go of a prospect. His follow-up game is to this day the best I've ever seen. And when he had a lead that stopped responding, he didn't react like most people and take it personally. He just kept calling or emailing or sending text messages. He would do naturally what I wrote about in my book. He would vary his method of contacting prospects until they finally responded or told him to stop. Now, you probably don't want to behave that same way in your dating life because you'll come across as a stalker and end up with a restraining order. But in a professional context, here are a few specific things you can do when prospects ghost you. First, don't make up a story. You never know what's going on with people, and when they stop responding, it often has nothing to do with you. Once you understand this, then there's no need to take it personally. I mean, maybe they were hit with some adversity and had to divert their attention just to take care of it. Next, remember not to confuse social and business norms. The same behavior that could be labeled stalking in a social context is likely to be seen as persistence in a professional context. And chronic low producers worry about being pushy, and that's why there's a whole section in my book on how to adjust your mindset so that you can become professionally persistent. Next, I want you to vary your approach. If you call someone a few times and they don't respond, try a text message or send them a DM on social. Or if they have their own blog or active social media account, then try leaving comments on their posts. But then also vary your message, because sometimes all you need to do is ask how they're doing. You don't always have to follow up asking about business. See, they know you're the professional, so business is implied. And just be a good person and let them know you were thinking about them. Call and say hello just because. And last but not least, keep going until they respond or tell you to stop. Because sometimes when people follow up with me and I don't want to go into why I'm not ready to move forward, I'll just ask them to keep following up. And I do that because I know that most people will give up way too soon. And I really love working with people who are professionally persistent. And most of your prospects will appreciate you in the same way. The ones that don't will just ask you to stop or they'll unsubscribe. And when they do that, they're clearing space for another person that you're actually meant to help. Okay, so I trust this is helping some of you. And no matter what's going on in your industry or in your market, remember the one thing that you can always control is how many people you contact and how professionally persistent you are. And if more people are ghosting you these days, that simply means you'll have to ramp up your lead generation and prospecting efforts. See, even my friend Jay, a guy with incredible charm, the looks of an Abercrombie model, and the body of a Navy SEAL, had to put in the time doing his primary job. So we do as well. And as I've watched him over the years, once he got going and learned how to sell, no matter what the market was doing, he remained a consistent top producer, and so can you. Now, speaking of being a top producer, you can also now buy a whole book about building your own version of a top producer life. And for all of you who already have it, I can't tell you how much I appreciate the support. This week it's been super fun to see the pictures of it out in the wild. So if you haven't got your copy, then grab it today. I'll put the link in this post, and then snap a picture reading it or a picture of it on your desk with coffee and tag me in social media, okay? Thanks again for your support, you guys. Thanks for watching today. My name is Jason Edwards, and let's get out there and live a top producer life.